Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And hello, everybody. I'm so grateful to have you here. Have an amazing, fun, awesome guest, Athena. How do I pronounce your last name? There's one little detail I didn't make sure I found out about.
Yes, it's Athena Bahri.
Bahri. Okay,
Yes.
Oh, so nice to have you here, Athena.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really such a gift to be here and sharing some spiritual talk with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So Athena has a fascinating background, and she has, as I can perceive, just an enormous heart to share this work in the world that she's going to be talking about today around raising your vibes and also bringing Reiki to the world. Let's get it even more mainstream than it's ever been, and energy healing, etc. So I'm really excited to be diving in. I'm going to share with you now a little bit more about her background. Now, Athena hails from a Hollywood dynasty as the niece of Rita Hayworth and cousin of Ginger Rogers. Raise Your Vibes author Athena Bahri began her career as an actress as Athena Cansino, and before leaving her life of glamour and paparazzi to create a life of peace and energy healing. Thank God on the peace, right? So she is the founder and creator of Crystal Reiki Healer, one of the fastest growing online presences for Crystal and Chakra Education, Crystal Reiki Healing, and raising the energy vibration for all beautiful souls searching to better their lives. So again, it's just so great to have you here, Athena. And
Thank you so much.
I just really, just looking forward to diving into your background a little bit because it's a fascinating nugget for us that are tuning into you. Tell us about what was like, growing up in a family that comes from Hollywood and all that, and going down the actress route and all that. Tell us a little bit about that, and then your inspiration to do what you're doing today.
Of course, of course. Thank you. Yes, I guess it's not your typical family history and drama, but it's I guess just like anybody else's family, growing up in a family of lawyers or a family of doctors, and I have a family of actors and stars. So it started with my great grandfather. He came over back in the days of vaudeville when that was the kind of original Hollywood. And he was a huge star there with his sister, my great aunt. And then they came over here and to Hollywood. And Rita, which was Margarita Cansino, became much bigger a star than anybody anticipated. And of course, that had its own effects on the family. There was your typical family rivalry, right? And then we had the brothers, and my grandfather, her brother, wanted to be an actor, and so there was a little tension there, for my dad growing up. By the time I was born, she already had Alzheimer's and was kind of in the end stages of that. So I didn't get to have the pleasure of meeting her, but there's always family stories and how the family would get together and argue over politics and get into it over, just your typical family drama. When I started in acting, I was funny. I didn't want to use the name because I wanted people to see me for me. And I thought, if I just throw my aunt's name out there, nobody's gonna look at me for who I am. So, which was silly, really, because if you're in acting, you want to use as much as you can get to keep going. So when I made a film called Welcome to Ibiza with Gary Busey, which in his extreme days, he was so much fun. And we went to the Cannes Film Festival to display the movie, and I got a real taste of Hollywood limelight, that 15 minutes of fame, right, that people have, and walking red carpets and staying on yachts. And we had paparazzi come around me, and it was the most amazing, overwhelming feeling ever. To have like 200 people screaming your name while you're in a bikini, like, oh my God, at like 20, 21 years old, I guess I was. And it was a lot. I loved acting. It was really an amazing therapy for me. I loved performing. I had done it since I was a kid. It was just a natural thing that, I guess because of my blood, I was drawn to it. And, but there's so much behind the scenes that's really kind of ugly. And we saw a bit of that with, the people that were exposed, and pedophiles and harassment and all this stuff that came out. So it was nice to kind of leave that. And I got married, I had my babies, and I just thought, my marriage is not going to survive this lifestyle, because you're out, you're networking, you're flirting and talking to people, and everybody's, just, oh, you're so wonderful. And it's all, smoke and mirrors, right, as they say. But then I wanted this like nice, quiet life. And then I found energy healing, because I had a car accident when I was 19, and I rolled over. And so I had chronic back pain for about 16 years. And I had tried everything. I mean, I had tried all the Western medicine, injections, pain medicine, physical therapy, chiropractic. I mean, I could go on. And I wasn't healing. I wasn't getting that relief. And then I was faced with doing a back surgery, and I really didn't want to do it. And I didn't know who the right doctor was. And so I started getting interest. One day I was like, I want to do Reiki. And my husband's like, Reiki? Who does Reiki? Like, I've never heard of that. So I was like, yeah, well, that's what I'm going to do. I just had this amazing calling to it. And everything in my life has changed so dramatically since then. With my crystals, with Reiki, with working on my chakras, I really was able to kind of fill in the gaps where Western medicine had failed. And together they're a beautiful union. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but together they work much better. And I ended up having my surgery, and in the hospital right after, I was in some really incredible pain. I mean, like mind-shattering type of pain. My jaw was rattling. I couldn't breathe. It was just a big mess, and not the kind of like Reiki healing stuff you would think. And while I'm crying and sobbing, my husband screams over my sobs, "You're a Reiki master, for God's sakes. Do Reiki on yourself." And it was like this click, like, oh, I can do that. Yeah, okay, let's try it. I had only ever done it in a nice, calm, serene setting, right? So, music and bells and all this. So I started to do it, and within 30 seconds, 45 seconds, my whole body just kind of started to calm down. Like my jaw stopped shaking. My breath came back. My eyes opened. Suddenly I realized I actually had all these people in the room with me that I didn't even realize were there. My doctors were like kind of looking like, what's going on in here? What's happening? And so my period after that, I incorporated Reiki every day, and my affirmations and all these tools that I have in my book. I mean, everything that I have done and written about in here, I've done myself. So I'm kind of like my own guinea pig. And that was really the moment that I realized this is something real, like something not just, they talk about, or it sounds good, or it feels good in the moment. No, this is something that's just really a divine healing. And so it became important to share this and to give this out to the world. Like, how can I help other people? I mean, I've been home, I've been taking care of my kids, I'm not really doing anything, outside of that, even though that was a huge, huge job, taking care of 3 kids. But I wanted something for myself too. And I can help them, I can help others. And people really gravitated towards that. And it's because it's really that amazing a healing modality. So then everything changed in my life with Reiki. All of a sudden I had a publisher reach out. All of a sudden I'm writing. And now I have this book to really share with the world so that they can take their power back and know that you're not dependent on what the doctor says or, you know, what your healer says. Like, you can use these tools and bring in a really nice, well-rounded healing for yourself, and live better, live happier. And we have all these, especially now, right, with the pandemic, we have everybody in lockdowns. We have, I mean, I wrote this during the middle of a lockdown, which was really amazing. And, you know, we're dealing with things that we've never faced before. Even though we're all isolated and shut off from the world, really, we're also finding that we're really so connected. And we're finding new ways to connect with people, like things like this with, you know, Zoom meetings and all this online virtual connection now, just to bring us together, because as people, we really do crave that. We really need that connection, and energy is not bound by space or time. So, you know, you can feel mine through a screen, I can feel yours. And the more you work with energy, the more in tune you become, and the more you trust that intuition and that instinct for your own healing. So it's kind of what brought me here, I guess. And going from being in the limelight to a quiet life, and now it's like it's pulling me back to the light. So yeah, so much for that.
In a new way, maybe, but yeah, back into that limelight. So that is so amazing, and so many incredible, interesting things there. I mean, yeah, I love like what you talked about with the family. It's like, well, yeah, it's really different and interesting, and yet it's just all the same, you know. Yeah, that's what it was like. And so I love that you know you share that because it's I think you know these days people get it, but like you know still I think there's in the psyche of the idea of it must be so great to be one of these people and in these families and everything, and it's like yes and no. Yeah. So right, so it's like getting real, right, getting really real. Sometimes it's more difficult to be in such situations and in other families, etc. So it's a mixed bag to say the least, and it all depends, I suppose. But
Well, we all have our thing. We all have our thing that we deal with. Every family
right.
has their thing, and I know we tend to get kind of starstruck
Yes.
because we see somebody on a TV, but really, you know, they're feeling and dealing with the same kind of minutia that the rest of us are. You know, we're all human, and we all have, you know, our good days and our bad days, and some just have it more public than
Right,
others.
right. Yeah, now with social media, right? We see more
Yes.
and more, and it's just so much paparazzi. You know, you mentioned everything. It's so much going on with that. So you know what it's like to be visible, right? Like a lot of people, because here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast is people wanting to lead the way in the light. You know, they're either getting started or they're established or what have you, but they're wanting to go to the next level and they want to make a big difference. And you know, a lot of people struggle with visibility, even if they were good at visibility somewhere else. So, like even yourself, you probably like. That's one of my questions for you. There's so many questions I have, but one of them is although you've been in the limelight before in your life, and you've been in the limelight, it's like this is different, right? So, I mean, I want to talk to the people that are reluctant to share more of themselves, especially spiritual nature and their work. A lot of them may be healers that are listening, whatnot. What are you learning about like stepping into the spotlight and how? I mean, how are there any forces that you're dealing with, like within family or in other ways that are saying like, "Hey, you're crazy. Why are you doing that?" Or you know, what challenges have you been running into? I'd love to hear about that.
Yes. Well, when I started all of this, and I had a girlfriend of my best friend, not just a girlfriend, my best friend had said, "Oh, you have to open a, you know, an Instagram account." And I was like, oh my God, on Instagram, I don't even know. I don't even do Facebook. Like, I don't know how to do this. I didn't know how to make a post. I didn't know how to do anything on there. So she was kind of showing me, no, this is how you do it. And here's how you know, post something, and here's the hashtags and all this stuff. And my husband was totally against it. He's like, what is this social media, you know, garbage? And this is before we all lived on social media, right?
Right.
And he's like, nobody makes money on Instagram. Nobody makes money doing this stuff. And I was like, well, actually, I think there's quite a few people doing it. So, I mean, I'm going to try. He's like, it's a total waste of time. And I was like, okay, all right, well, you know, watch me. Let's see what happens.
Right. Game on. I love it.
So yeah, sometimes that negative criticism can be the boost, right? To kind of lead you. You're like, really? I can't? Okay. You know, here we go. Let's try it. And sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay. And part of it is really just doing what matters to you. You know, lead with your heart. I mean, a lot of people that, you know, they want this limelight. They think it's going to fill some part of themselves. And I can tell you it doesn't. It's just, it really doesn't. If anything, it's going to spotlight where your holes are, you know, and then you've got to do more healing, and you end up, you know, more unhappy than when you started. So when you're putting yourself out in the public, it can be really hard, because people are judging you. People are looking at you. They're judging everything you say, everything you do. Much like acting, you know, it was all like, oh, her hair is too short or too long. She's too thin. She's not thin enough. She's, you know, I mean, just, it's the same, you know. And the nice thing is that now I don't have to memorize lines. And, but I found one of the harder things was really just to be myself, because I had always played this role, right? And suddenly people, you know, I'm not doing a role, people want to see me. And that can be very intimidating. So for those that are, you know, just starting, or they're just putting themselves out there, you know, I so feel you. And it can be really, you know, get your citrine close to you, build up that solar plexus, you know, remember your purpose, why you're doing this. And if you're doing it for limelight, you're doing it for fame, you know, these are the wrong reasons. You know, it's not going to make you happy. Not to say you can't still do it. You can, it's your life. You can do whatever you like. But if you're doing it for things that satisfy the ego, I guess we'll say, you're not going to find that happiness. And when you go out there and you're authentic and yourself, and you know what, if people don't like it, they don't have to, because they don't have to live with you. They don't have to live being you. They don't have to get up and look at you and every morning in the mirror, right? You do. So I would say, just make sure that what you do and what you put out there really resonates with who you are, because then you have that peace and you can feel better about yourself. And who wants somebody fake anyway? I mean, what are we going to do with that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, totally. I love you sharing all that. And yeah, that's great. I mean, with the right motivation, and I think probably that's an issue for some people, but I think like, so probably even more the issue for my audience would be a little bit more like, I don't want to be in the limelight. I'm scared to be in the limelight. I'm afraid to be in the limelight, you know, and that's a little bit more the issue. And but I think what you're saying is important for them to hear, though, is that, yeah, hey, listen, yeah, people are going to hate you, people are going to love you, and like, you can buy into both ends, right? You can buy into, oh, like you said, when you're probably even stronger when you're with the Hollywood stuff, right? Oh, you're so great, you're this, you're that, you get it now too, but it's a little bit different then, and like, blah 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 blah, and then and then you got the whole crowd that demeans you, right? You're too skinny, you're too this, you're too that, whatever it is, and then you've got all that coming at you, and then it's like, yeah, and I could say like, yeah, for me, I will say I relate a little bit to what you say about the limelight doesn't get it. I mean, you know, my limelight's very small compared to some people's, that's for sure. But I mean, the limelight that I've been in different situations in my career, and you know, you do the thing, whatever it is, you're doing an event, or you're on a big stage, or whatever you're doing, and it's like, I've arrived, here we go, boom, you do it, and then you're like, it's so fun, it's so good, and then you're in your hotel room at night, and maybe you're still buzzing with energy, but eventually, maybe later that night, I'm just giving an example, like what could happen, like later that night, you're like, you know what, I still feel kind of empty inside. Actually, I feel kind of even more weird than ever now,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
highlights even more those voids, those places of emptiness, and feeling that I'm not whole, I'm not well, and I thought this would do it. I thought this would fill that role, and we find out no, it doesn't. That's why I'm so committed to helping people do it. The spiritual rock star way. Do
Yes.
it from the connected space in the first place. Be yourself. Rock it out from that place, and then you don't
And
have
have
to.
fun and have fun with it. If you're not having fun with it, enjoying it, what's the point? It's hard to put yourself out there. I mean, think about the first time you had to get onto a stage, or in front of even just 10 people, where people are looking at you like you're the authority and you're going to teach me something. It's a lot of pressure, right? It's like, oh my God, they're looking at me, like, what if I stumble, what if I fall? Well, what if you fly? What if you do amazing? What if you touch that one person in the audience that is like, oh my God, that just made a huge difference, and now I feel confident to be myself? That is what makes it worth it, right? That's what, at least for me, that's what makes it worth it. If I can touch even just like that one person and help them and raise up their vibration, give them that inner strength and that inner confidence, and I've done something right. If I can help them heal, like, that's just such a gift for me, because I lived with chronic pain and insecurity in front of this limelight and all this stuff, and I was not happy. I was miserable, and I wasn't able to, be the best mom, be the best wife, the best friend. I mean, they were all still around me, and we had, great relationships, but I didn't feel like I was doing enough. And it's because inside I was hurting. And when we're hurting, we project, that pain onto others. So when we work with all that stuff inside and just realize, you can be a rock star, because you are a rock star. And I love that, spiritual rock star. That's such a great name. Like, I'll usually say you're a goddess, but spiritual rock star is like really, really nice. I really like that. Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, yes. And with the back, let's on the back pain thing I wanted to talk about, because that's been part of my journey too. I mean, it wasn't from a specific, although it probably was from an accident. I got rolled over by a trailer as a kid. That
That's kind
probably
of
led to that might have been part of it, but it didn't show up till decades later, right? So, but I mean, the level of pain and everything is just, I mean, I tell people, it's doing 18 ibuprofen, every day for, however long, and, and more than that too. And so, like, all these things, and just, I think though, but all these things, like for you especially, on your path, I'm seeing is like, it's so direct with you. For me, the pain came at later, once I was already doing what I'm doing these days. But it's deepening, it's showing you something. It's like, hey, you're not listening, right? So but the back pain like that you had, like to utilize it's so funny, because you're like, oh, Reiki, this is a good, fun, cool thing to learn, and also you start using it, like, wait a minute, this stuff actually is really good. It really helps.
it really works.
It sounds like. So I mean, you started to have such a great experience of it, that it sounds like that was the impetus for you to do what you're doing today, and then ultimately to get to where you're doing the book these days. But like, tell us more about, so you learned the effects for yourself, and then did you start? Did that inspire you to start sharing it with people then, or what was?
Well, it's funny. I already was. That's the
Okay.
thing.
Oh, you were
That was
doing
so crazy.
CrossFit. Okay.
I was already a Reiki master. I was already, I mean, now I've kind of gone above and beyond. Now I have three that I've done, three different master levels, just because I love it so much. And I'm sure I'll probably do another one. And it, gets me, away for a week, and, kind of like my own little retreat, right? Learning Reiki. So, but yes, with the back pain, I was already doing it, and I was already working with people, and I was doing a lot of distance work too, because you can just reach so many people distance. And I thought that was such a cool thing that we're not taking as much advantage of. I didn't realize at the time how important that would be during a pandemic, because we were still, you know, free to go to an office and free to have people at your house, and it was open. But I really, like, after I had that moment in the hospital, just something switched. It was like, this isn't just something that feels good. Like, you know, you go for a massage and it's like, oh, this feels great. And okay, good. And then a few days later, it hurts again. But this was like a massage, like on steroids. I mean, it was like something came in and just, like, I really felt all of this. And it was an amazing testimony for myself, validating my own work. Because here I'm working and healing with other people, and I'm doing it based on trust and based on faith and all these things that, you know, your Reiki master will teach you, and, you know, trust that it's working. But it's sometimes, you know, it's hard to trust that things are working, especially when you can't see it. So going through this with the surgery, it was like, oh my God, this is something real. Like, I have to share this more. Like, people need to know, people need to see this. And I had crystals all over me. Like, I was sleeping downstairs. I couldn't go upstairs for a while after the surgery. And so I was in my healing room, which is this room actually, and I would have my crystals all over the place. And my husband came in and was like, "So what? You're sleeping with rocks now too? Like, what's going on here?" I'm like, it's fine, really. Like, trust me, it's working, and I'm just, you know, feeling good. I'm having a good day. I stopped all of my pain medication. They had put me on some really crazy, God, what was it called? Like a extra strength oxy something, and it was like really, like, I was talking nonsense. I mean, my kids were scared. It was like, it was I didn't like it. I didn't feel good. And so I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to do this. Like, this is not working for me. I'm going to do my Reiki healing and my chakra balancing, and I'm going to hold on to all my crystals, and, you know, God willing, I will be okay. And I really was. It still took a long time to recover. I had to grow bone. It was a fusion surgery, which, by the way, for your back, since, you know, you've got some back pain, and really old injuries will show up later, because that's, you know, what happens, especially when we don't know about them, right? And we continue moving and working. And a lot of the times, things that we have going on in our emotional state will manifest into our physical body. So that's, you know, another place you can know and do the work. But the crystal apatite is really good for bone and for your joints. And I really especially love, so I sleep with a huge chunk of it still next to my bed, just to make sure, like, all my bones stay strong. And then green calcite is really wonderful for physical healing. So, you know, if you've got some like muscle stuff going, you know, literally you can just, you know, hold it in your hand, keep it in your pocket. I love to sleep with them, just because we spend so much time in our bed, right? Or when we sleep, we probably spend more time there than any other one place. So sticking it, like, you know, under your pillow, or, you know, on the bedside table next to you, is a really good way to bring that energy, that healing energy, into, you know, your own body, especially when you're sleeping, because you don't have any, you know, guards up, you don't have any, you know, resistance. So you're a lot more open to accepting that healing energy. And jet is another one. Jet is, it's actually a wood, a petrified wood, but that really is amazing for pain relief. And it's super light, and it's black, it's super light. You can stick it in your pocket, in your bra, wherever. And that really helps with pain relief. And when I do Reiki sessions, especially distance for people, I create a crystal grid, because it's so I create this crystal grid for people because I really love the union of crystal energy and Reiki energy together. Reiki will always go for your highest good, right, as we're taught, but crystal energy, you can kind of direct that, pinpoint areas that the person feels they need right now. So maybe I don't want to deal with my childhood trauma right now in this session. I want to deal with my, you know, achy back. So it's like, okay, well, but Reiki wants you to deal with your trauma first, right? So it's like, no, but I want my back. So by bringing in, you know, that crystal energy, you can kind of direct that as well. And it's again, it's like just a beautiful union of healing modalities together. Just like I wouldn't say, don't stop going to your doctor and only do Reiki. Like I would never say that, because I have done both, and working together with both has been really wonderful. And, Reiki is an energy healing. So we also have other things, physical things that need to be addressed. When it comes to medication, again, if that's what you need, take it. Like, don't hurt yourself, out of this idea that you can't have it. Just know also that medication has side effects, that can be harmful. It's hard for your liver. Advil even is hard on your stomach and your gut. All these things really kind of affect your physical body in other ways. So I always try to find the more natural, or the more, I should say, gentle on your system, because if you can't fix one and then just hurt another, right? That kind of doesn't really make sense. So I find that bringing the two in together, Reiki and crystals, and your medical doctor or your physical therapy, or some people who have mental illness, they need to take medication for that, just to help keep them balanced. And there's no shame in that. That's wonderful. In fact, I even do Reiki for their medication sometimes, like just to make sure that it's going for their highest good, and to help kind of minimize the side effects they might be dealing with. So that's kind of how I work in a nutshell, I guess.
Reiki on the medication. I've never heard that one before. Reiki
Oh,
for everything.
no.
Why not, right?
Oh, you got to do it.
Yeah. My
Yes.
wife always is watching all these videos on our, the big screen downstairs, and people doing the Reiki. You've probably seen the videos. The hands are just up on the screen and they're sending Reiki. All these different things. They've got like every condition you could think of. Now we're doing Reiki on baldness or whatever.
Right.
And I always laugh every time I see it, not because I'm laughing Reiki, because I see those hands up like this. Sometimes that's all you can see of that in the background. So it's really fun. But yeah, I mean, I don't do Reiki. I train people in energy and energy healing and intuition and tuning in and energy scanning, all this stuff. So I bless different things. Like I bless my food. I do things like that, etc. I do use prayer and all these different things. Sure. One thing I don't really have, though, I have some stones and whatnot, and it's just so not so far my thing, like stones and crystals and all that stuff. But I have some stones. I do use them. I don't have any crystals myself. Okay, we have crystals around the house. So that's why I said, so fascinated by crystals. I used to make fun of people with crystals. I used to say, because I was into metaphysics, I'm like, that's so much of nonsense. We just order up what we want, Come on, it's easy. We don't need a crystal. But I used to say like that. Was almost like almost the wrong path. It's not that I thought it was the wrong path, but it's like, come on, you guys just keep hanging on your crystals. Let's get on with it, And so that was more my attitude until I kind of appreciate more the depth, just the help that it brings, and then just the depth of it's really the feminine in a way, like just really, it's kind of how I see it anyway, but like it's just that sense of just naturally receiving rather than just doing. We'll do it. We'll just metaphysically dial that thing in,
Yes, energy healing is not a prescription. It doesn't work like that.
Yes. Right. It doesn't always work like that anyway. Sometimes we need we can do all the prayer we want in the world, but maybe it's not working. But all of a sudden, we get a few crystals together, or get a crystal bath, and we feel amazing. All of a sudden, we didn't have to dial in anything.
Oh, well, that's one of my favorites. Yes, crystal baths, the crystal elixir in the water bottles. I just love that. My husband, he's a chiropractor, so he was trained in the same thing. And it was like, why didn't you fix me? And he's like, dude, you have a broken bone. What can I do? Like, I'm sorry. And so I slept with rocks instead. And he used to laugh at me, like, what are all these rocks you're doing? Like, what a waste of money, like $2 for a rock, $10 for a rock. What are you doing? And now I mean, I guess I can't show you here. I wonder if I can show my screen. Would that be weird?
Yeah, maybe.
So now, he buys me like these giant
Oh,
amethyst
that's
rings.
beautiful. Yeah, I love that.
And sorry, I know that's kind of unconventional to move the screen, but and we have now giant crystals like all over the house, in our on our
Mhm.
dining room table, on our entryway when we walk in, that he gets. Like now when I have,
Right.
Christmas or a birthday, he's like, honey, look, I got you this giant crystal. Like,
Okay, he's all into it, right? Well, what I say is like, well, maybe at some point I'll get to that level, but it's like I started off there, and now I'm more interested in it, and like looking forward to continuing to learn more about it. But it's like I started with like, oh, that's just all a bunch of nonsense, and it reminds me of other things, right? So some people might think Reiki is nonsense. Like, oh, that's a bunch of nonsense. What, symbols. We don't need symbols and all that stuff. People are doing energy healing of other sorts that may not believe in different modalities, right? Oh, symbols. We don't need symbols. I got something better than that. No.
well, I
So,
agree with that. Actually, I do.
mhm.
When I did the Japanese lineage, the Japanese method, so that's the method that is not in the line of Sensei Takada. It was from Asui himself. I mean, they're all from Asui, but it came from Sensei Asui, not from her. And there was no emphasis on symbols. I mean, they had them, and
Mhm.
he, as the story goes, he introduced them as a way for people to help them connect, because people are very physically oriented, right? So we feel like we need something, physical proof that something is working, right? It's very hard for people to just go on faith. You'll find that more in, maybe religious practices, or people are more religious. They pray and they really have that amazing faith. But outside of that, they're still dependent on, their priest or their minister or their Bible or their physical, tangible thing. And with Reiki, it's very similar, that those symbols are not meant to be something, that you have to do. And if you don't draw it correctly, or you don't place it correctly, or if I don't put my hand in the right place, or all this stuff, it's not going to work. And that's just not the way, that's not really the way it is. And I love that I'm able to kind of show people, kind of draw them away from those rules, right? Because spirituality shouldn't be based around rules. I mean, think about it. Like, there are no rules. It's what works for you, and trusting yourself in what works for you. And if working with that symbol isn't, you don't know how to draw it quite right, that's okay. That's not the point anyway. That's just, symbolic of the energy that you're drawing in. So, never mind that. Do the chant instead. They have chants of the symbols too in the Japanese lineage that they don't really teach in the Western, which really, it's nobody's fault. We had World War II. Everything Japanese sentiment was really, not okay at the time. And in order to protect this beautiful energy, Sensei Takada really had to change, kind of pull out the Japanese parts of it so that she could share it. Because otherwise she'd have been, maybe persecuted, or, put away, and Reiki would have been lost. So in her way, by removing some of these Japanese things, we also got to have it over here. But now we don't have that negative sentiment against the Japanese anymore. So now we can, which is amazing. Now we have others, right? We'll always have something, but now we can kind of like explore that without all these rules, and really just being open to that energy on its own. So, if you're struggling with learning Reiki because you're concerned about, the symbols or drawing it correctly, like, don't let that go for a minute. I mean, you're already doing it. You don't even realize you're already doing it. It's accessible rather, for all of us. And when you're working with your hands, or you're praying, or you're putting energy, like for example, into your food, right? When you're looking at your
Right.
meal and putting your energy in, that is what Reiki is. It's that divine life force energy. So you're already doing that.
Mhm.
It's, children do it so naturally. Think about every time, like, you bump your head, your immediate response is to put your hand.
Right.
And why do we do that? What is this instinct? And well, we're healing ourselves. We're bringing that energy. Or how we were little and mom would kiss the boo-boo, right? Because or dad or whoever, our caretaker was, to make it better. And it really did feel better, because we're releasing that emotional attachment to the pain and replacing it with something that embodies love, with a kiss or with a soft touch. This is kind of a nice, easy way, I guess you could say, to understand how Reiki energy works. So you're already doing it. You just maybe didn't know it.
Well, I didn't call it Reiki. That's all.
Or you didn't call it Reiki. Yeah.
So I mean, I've received Reiki, but I don't really know any that much. I mean, my wife has studied it, but I haven't. So, but one of the things I was thinking about around all this too is one of my mentors. He's always, on calls, he's like, okay, and let's get started, and we just do this thing with the hands. This is all we're doing. Okay, and just feel the energy and just get relaxed, so relaxed, feel the light going through, and just do that. And he's not an energy healer, but he's like, he's learned this, right? Like this works.
Yeah.
And he says, I mean, he's like in his 70s. He says, for the last 40 plus years, he's basically never been ill. I mean, for the most part, a little tiny cold every once in a great while, maybe a few times, he said. And he just keeps himself in wholeness and wellness. And one of the many things he does, but like, is he just does this thing with his hands from the top of his head going down. Not everybody can see this, right? So, but just bringing it down through his body. And when you do that, like, you don't have to believe anything. All you have to do is move your hands like this. You'll feel something. And it's like, wow, that feels pretty good. Maybe I'll keep doing that, even with the breath or anything, just moving your hands alone. It's
just do it. Totally.
And it's like these things that people call woo, and like, oh, that's not real. What's that doing? It's funny. I always say, like, the things that seem most unreal and so not real are the most real things. The things we think are so like real are the most unreal things in a way, right? So it's like,
right.
That's how the mind works. It doesn't believe in the things that are most real, and it believes in all the other stuff.
Yes, well, or they only believe what they can see, and really, what are you actually seeing? You're seeing like what? Light that's reflected, energy that's reflected, and our brain processes that energy and that reflection. I mean, are you really seeing it? Is it really there? I mean, we could really go.
Right. You can go real deep now, right? Absolutely. I love doing that.
Right.
So, but so within your book, you talk about raise your vibes, right? So it's around self-healing, and you have a lot of things. You cover kind of like many categories within the book, right? So if somebody needs wants to understand more about, all these different ways we can do self-healing, then, your book is a great book for that, is what I was noticing. So, so tell us, let's get into the book a little bit. So you came out with this book recently, Raise Your Vibes. Tell us a little bit about what you're sharing in the book. I know it talks about Reiki and crystals, but there's much, much more in there. So I'd love to hear about that.
There's a lot in there. And really part of that is because, not everybody resonates with the same energy healing. Like you were saying, you're not really feeling the Reiki, but you like this moving your hands bit or pouring energy into your food. And we're all individual, we're all energetic beings, and we vibrate differently. And so what resonates for me might not resonate for you, or for, my husband or my friend or the girl down the street, right? So with this book, there are really so many different ways. And it's funny, when I was putting it together, I was like, God, but there's so much, there's so many different ways of healing and raising your vibration. How do I cram it all into this book? And I found that by doing rituals, there's a lot of rituals in this book, which is great because it gives people, something that they can actually do. They can physically take an active role in their healing. It's not just, reading about something and taking faith, they can actually do things to help raise their vibration. And then you can incorporate many of the other things. I mean, from using herbs to using crystals, using sound healing, the violet flame, meditation. I mean, I have to even look myself, affirmations, all these different things that we can pull in and use. And, our energy changes by the day. So what worked for me yesterday might not work for me today. So then it's like, okay, let's open the book and try something else. Let's see what else works. Or, people who are really into moon rituals. I love moon rituals. It's kind of one of the first few things that I started with, and creating a practice around either the new moon or the full moon. And it's easy. It's like an easy way for you to bring this energy into your world. And the more you do it, the more you start to recognize those shifts, the more you start to recognize, things that you have been hoping for or wishing for start to come in. They might not always come in the way we thought they would, right? I mean, I never thought I would be doing this kind of stuff when I started Reiki, but that's kind of also a blessing, because the universe brings what you need in divine timing. And so with this book, you're able to kind of, go through and pick and choose what resonates for you. And I really like that, because there's so many different tools in energy healing. And why do we have to choose? Why do we have to be limited by the rules of one particular thing, right? I think we can do it all. Just take the pieces that resonate for you and leave the rest.
Yeah.
And what's nice is in here, I go on to like specific things that people struggle with, and some of the more common, depression, anxiety, physical pain, emotional pain, self-love, focus, just trying to get your focus, like especially for students and people, going to school or having to focus for a meeting. There are different things in there, different rituals that are easy, that are fast, that are simple. And you don't really need a lot of, ingredients. A lot of these rituals online, when I was starting, you had to get, 20 different ingredients, and some of them were from like far ends of the earth, and it was like, how am I going to find this? And it's not going to work, and it ends up creating more stress than you kind of went in with.
Exactly.
So it's I wanted to kind of keep it simple and keep it in a way that's really accessible for everybody. And I have in the beginning, because I love Reiki so much, I blessed the entire book with Reiki, but I also created a way to attune people through the book. So some are calling it a self-attunement. I think it's more like an extension of me attuning, but whatever works for you, however you're willing to accept and be open to this energy is just, wonderful for me, a blessing for everybody. And then once you go through that attunement, and you can read it and take your time with it, and then start practicing, and you'll start recognizing the energy the more you work with it. And then you can use that energy with your tools. Use that energy or channel, I shouldn't say use, but channel that energy into your rituals, channel that energy into your crystals. Maybe you didn't notice how a crystal made you feel before. And then once you work with it and you're pouring some love on there and some Reiki on there, suddenly you'll notice, maybe not suddenly, it's kind of subtle, but over, a week or so, you'll start to notice, your back pain settling a little bit, or doing Reiki, you'll start to kind of come into what your soul purpose is. It'll lead you, on your path in ways that you really didn't expect. People will start to gravitate towards you that you didn't think you would ever meet. And then next thing you know, you're really living in your purpose, and you have clarity on what that purpose is. And I think that's something that is really helpful for so many of us, especially right now in the middle of this, so much uncertainty in what's happening in our world. So having a little bit of grounding, showing a little gratitude for, the positive in our life. These are all ways to, raise our vibration and kind of shift ourselves out of that negative self-talk and all that. Like, we really do so much damage to ourselves, with that self-talk.
Right.
That evil monster in our brain, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What about this COVID thing? What about these politicians? What about this?
I'm never getting out.
I, I mean, the less I watch all that stuff, the better off I am. I'll tell you that. That'll
Yes,
raise your vibe big time right there.
yes.
People can say my head's in the sand. I don't think so. I think I'm more connected to the truth, to be honest. So, so
Yes,
that's
yes.
how I look at it. I'm like, because I mean, honestly, I mean, for myself, and it's true for everyone, but like I'm aware of it. I'm like, at some level, I'm kind of aware of what's going on anyway without ever even needing to hear it. And then whatever I'm not hearing it, probably someone else is going to come in here. Have you heard? Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I'm like, sure, okay, whatever. What's the latest story we're coming up with about what's happening? Because 90% of it's just only a story anyway. We don't even know
And
what.
it's all a myth anyway. Is it even real? We don't even know. I mean, I had friends that were just in family that were so glued to the TV, during this whole pandemic. And I get it, it's exciting. It's designed that way to like suck you in. And I just told them, why don't you just turn it off? Like, do you have to watch it? But I won't know. I'm like, well, you're not going to know anyway. So
Right.
what difference does it make? When I was shooting the movie Welcome to Ibiza, when I was in Spain, we shot the film in Spain. I had been there for 3 days and 9/11 happened. So I was in my hotel room with my co-stars and we're watching that screen, and we watched the two towers fall. And it was such a, oh my, like incredible moment. We were all in tears and miserable. And like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And we had just left. And my parents were here, glued in LA, glued to that TV and making frantic phone calls to me in Spain. The terrorists are going to get you. You're such an American. You have blonde hair. They're going to see you. They're going to take you. And I'm looking around like, Dad, there's nothing is going on, like nothing. And he's like, no, you don't know. In the whatever country, the Basque country, they're gonna come steal you. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they don't care that I'm here. He's like, I'm telling you. And they really were beside themselves, like so nervous, so upset. And really it's because they're watching this news program and it was on every program. And after that, I really lost faith in our media, because the news I was getting over there and the news that my family was getting over here were so drastically different. And the reality was I was not in danger. I was safe and there was nothing going on, but they were so convinced that I was going to be kidnapped and tortured. I mean, they had decided even.
Yeah, it's already happening. It's already done.
Yeah. So, just that's something to keep in mind, don't always believe everything that comes through media, like check your own truths. And if it really makes you feel bad in anything in life, take a pause, just take a pause from it. Let yourself breathe a little, reevaluate. Try some of my rituals. Raise your vibes over here.
Yeah, exactly. Get the Raise Your Vibes book and see get the recipe. Like, okay, let's do some smudging. Let's do some, affirmations or
right.
let's channel some angels or something or whatever all you've got in there.
Let's make some crystal grids. Yeah, let's talk to our angels. Yes. And start with your gratitude practice. I mean, that's probably like one of the easiest, biggest things there is. And you don't need a book for that. And you don't need, really anything for that. But that taking that moment first thing in the morning before you do anything else, that's the thing, before you check your phone, before you get up out of bed, before you get dressed, all that stuff, before the shower, just lay in your bed and take a moment to give thanks for what you're grateful for, even if it's just your bed, I'm grateful for my bed. I'm grateful I slept. I'm grateful I get to start a new day. And that just shifts your whole energy into the positive. So even if you have a bad day, even if something comes, negative that during the day, it's not going to knock you over as much as it would have. You're more grounded and you've got that positive vibration. It's kind of coming off of you, and people want to be around that. People love that, and you feel better. So that's always kind of my first first thing of the day.
Yes.
Show that gratitude. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's a great one. Absolutely. And it's funny for me, I do that. I just when I wake up in the morning, I'm just one of those people. I'm like, oh boy, oh, I gotta wake up. Just that it's just like I tends to be my nature so far, but I still do the gratitude. I still like, okay, no, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. And it makes a difference, it makes a difference. So I definitely my cycle is definitely more towards the evening, I think. So it
And
just
that works too. That's
it,
okay.
oh, I
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, because I lay it on thick in the evening. I'm like, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. So you're right. Everyone's different. Everyone's got their own way. So it's so perfect. So now, if people want to get the book, I know there's gazillions of places to get it. But where are some of the best places maybe to get your book?
Yes, well, the our typical places, Amazon seems to be a place where everybody shops these days. So Razor Vibes will be there. It'll be at Barnes and Noble. It'll be at what is it called? Penguin Random House, right?
Yeah.
If I can think here. Watkins Publishing, if you're in Europe. There's so indie books, I think it's called. Is that the name of it? There's it's at Target, it's at Walmart, it's at pretty much everywhere that books are sold. I've even seen a copy on eBay. So really anywhere somebody needs to shop for books, like they should have it there. I also have it on my website, crystalreikihealer.com, and I have a whole bunch of links on there for different shops like around the world, India, Austria, all these different countries, in case they don't have your big chain ones. That has some lists of ones too. And then hopefully soon I'll have it in stock and actually on my site, which I'm waiting for the shipment. That'll be fun. And yeah, but otherwise it's pretty easy for everybody to get a hold of. Yeah.
Great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's great you have all that distribution. Awesome.
Thank
I love that.
you. It's
Rock
such a
on.
gift. It's such a gift. Yes. Yes.
All
I'm
right.
so grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
Get your
Yeah.
coffee to raise your vibes. I know I've got my own version of it here already, and an online version, but
Awesome.
definitely check it out. So, okay, great. And then, so now's the time of the show where I like to do that tuning in to you. If you're open for
Yes.
that, are you ready?
Yes, I totally am.
Okay.
Yes. What are we
Awesome.
tuning? How does this work? What do I
I
need
don't know. I
to do?
just tune in on whatever wants to come through. So usually it's going to be around your purpose and whatnot, because that's my thing. So let me
Love
just
it.
see what wants to come through and just take a moment. Okay, one moment. You know, so what's interesting, and I saw it earlier in the interview, was is when your husband says, well, you're not going to get very far with all that. And you're like, no, yeah, well, we'll see about that. Okay. And so what comes up is that warrior nature you have, what we just call it warrior, whatever you want to call it. But like that part is like, it's happening, it's on. And so I just really picking up on that you have a great blend between that goddess energy and the warrior energy. And my guess is, my hunch is that the more you embrace more the so-called warrior self, the more impact you'll have. Because that's usually where us spiritual people are weaker, is like those fire steel elements is like, oh, I just want to be loving light a little bit more, but we got all this fire and steel and all this badass in ourselves, so to speak. And so I'm getting like to keep letting that come forward, because it's actually one of your superpowers. It's for you especially.
Oh.
Like you have a real access to it, and you can really channel it. And I think that, yeah, you're like, throw school buses out of the way, right? Like, nothing, I can do anything. Okay, literally, I mean, just like I see it come through that way. It's really powerful. So I really wanted to recognize that superpower. And let's see what else has come through. I'm not sure. Sometimes I get messages and I'm not quite sure if it's literal or it's figurative or something else. So I think how many children do you have?
3.
Three. That's what I thought you
Mhm.
said, right? So I'm hearing something about 6 children, and so
No, no,
and I knew you were going to
no.
say that. Yeah, and then I see that's why I said it must be something else, because I was like, I know she doesn't want that, so I have.
Oh, but I have 6 siblings.
Okay, okay, maybe there's something to that. Let me tune
Maybe
into
there.
that. Yeah, okay. So I do it the easy way sometimes, just ask, because usually you guys know. Yeah, it's funny. It's like I see there's a dynamic there with them. There's like, sometimes you would be try to go more to the background, then you're going to the front. So it's like almost, I guess, this chameleon almost sort of energy with it. So I feel like that's integrated into your life and you continue to go deeper to your center of your authentic self. But like this chameleon energy sometimes still it's kind of, wants to jump in there and be like, well, how do we need to be here? How do we need to be there? Do I need to prove myself now, or is it time to, move back? Is it time to people please? Is it time to whatever? I don't know. So like all these different kind of ways of being, I'm noticing, and so just again, it's just an awareness of like just a reminder, like yeah, that's okay, all these different aspects, but just the reminder to just keep being deeply centered seems to be the message, and more steel. And then I just keep hearing more steel. So anyway, I don't really have time to share so many things
Awesome.
in this show, but I wanted to just share a few things that are coming through, and anything coming up that you want to share about any of that, any quick comments or questions.
Well, I love that. Thank you so much. I've never had anybody do that before. That was very cool. And the chameleon, yes, no, I love that. We are an actor's family, so lots of big personalities, lots of drama, lots of we're maybe louder than your typical family. So there are moments where you have to kind of adapt and help with others, and also there's emotions and feelings from different ones, because each one is there's 7 of us. So my youngest brother is 15 years younger, so we have a whole range of siblings under me, and I'm, as the oldest, I'm a kind of always the one that's checking in, making sure everybody's okay, and it really does take that force, that steel, to handle all of the personalities and all of the arguing that goes on with
Cut
a
it
large
out. Yeah.
family.
That's funny.
And anybody who
Yeah.
has a big family will know what I'm talking about. They are
Right,
loud and boisterous, and everybody has an opinion. So
right, right.
it's great practice for the spiritual world, because everybody has an opinion, and there's going to be plenty of people that tell me I'm out of my mind and don't know what I'm doing. There's at least one a day on
Right
Instagram,
there.
like at least. Now I kind of try to make a joke like, all right, congratulations, you get to be the one, like, yay. And then that helps me kind of not take it personal and get
Yeah.
all into my feelings.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's so great. So that's great. So the more you can embrace that, the better off you'll be. Like
I love
sounds
it.
like a supplement every day. Okay, I got one that's gonna like stay just totally be
There
like,
is like
oh,
some days it's the shield, and some days it's the what is this that they hold? There's the big
staff,
stick, the staff. Yes,
staff
I
maybe,
want to get a
a
staff
scepter.
with like a big amethyst on it. That would be really
Yeah, it's like a
take it
scepter
hiking.
maybe. Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, awesome.
Yes, I
Okay,
love that.
great. Yeah, I mean, and just that but you are very adaptable, and it's not a negative thing, it's a good thing, but it's just to make sure you stay centered, and otherwise you can maybe get a little bit lost at times in some of the different aspects of like this adapting kind of energy. But it's all beautiful. It's all whole. It's all well. It's just a matter of like, okay, like just not to get caught up into it too much. So
Yes,
anyway, but thank you for
totally
receiving.
resonates. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, that was so cool. Thank you. What a treat. Yes.
So grateful to share. And everybody, if you want to check me out, I'm at yoursacredpurpose.com. I have a free meditate, make money meditation there. Helps open up your energies, your chakras, helps you get attuned to the messages that want to come in. So those frequencies can come in and the energy for money coming in can be turned on and new insights come in. So go to yoursacredpurpose.com, get your free meditate, make money meditation and opportunities to get energy scanning with me as well. What I did a little bit of right now with Athena. So Athena, we're starting to wrap things up. Give you the last word. Any last messages or any last things you'd like to share with the audience today?
Oh, thank you so much. I just want to say, I'm so grateful to be here and to be able to share with all of you, to be able to bring awareness to how we can all feel better and how we have the power and the ability to really help and heal ourselves. And that is my point, is to empower you to take your healing back, to take your health back, and to live a happier and healthier life. And that's not to say we're not going to have bad days. We are, but just be true to yourself and choose the tools that work for you, and never mind the rest. Let go of the judgment, let go of the rules, follow your heart. I know that sounds so cliche, but it's really when you follow your own purpose and you have clarity on that purpose, the world is your oyster. So I invite everybody to do that and to raise your vibes. And if you'd like to get the book, please do. Every Sunday I have a group Reiki where we get together and share Reiki together. And I have free tickets for everybody who buys a book. So if you would like to, and then you want to experience Reiki energy for yourself, that's one easy way to do that. And then otherwise, I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for having me on here. And that was so cool to have my little energy reading here. That was really amazing. And such a treat. So I'm grateful for you and for your audience, and I'm wishing you all so much love and so many blessings always.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Athena. That's so awesome. Now, I do have a quick question on that. So you said they could get access to this wonderful group healing. How do they actually take advantage of that if they would like to do that?
So if you go on my website at crystalreikihealer.com, I have in the shop part of it, it's called Sunday Group Reiki, or Sunday Group Crystal Reiki maybe. And so if you buy the book, just send me an email with your proof of purchase, and I'll send you a nice little coupon code, and you punch that in at the store, and you get to download the same music that I'll be listening to during the session. And there'll be a link in there for you to pick the Sunday of your choice, because not every Sunday you're up and you're ready for it. So whichever one works better for you, you're welcome to join. And it's been really nice. We've gotten some really nice people together, and it's distance. It's in the comfort of your own space. All you need to do is tune in and receive, and start your week a little bit higher, your chakras balanced. And I create a beautiful crystal grid, and everybody who signs up will have their name in the center of that. And we spend an hour sharing and channeling Reiki energy together. And it's just a really nice way to start the week, vibing a little higher, feeling a little better, and able to take on, all the challenges that life is going to bring our way. So it's been a really nice gift to offer people.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting. So go to crystalreikihealer.com, crystalreikihealer.com to check out those details. And as you grab a copy of the book, if that calls to you. And so honored. It's such a pleasure to have you on, Athena. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Success with all your work, and I'm so grateful for it all. And thank you to our audience for tuning in. Keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here on Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till the next time, everyone. Goodbye for now.
For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.